Hi, welcome back. This is the One True Divine Feminine and Psychic Investigations Tarot. And yes, I am the woman who solved my own crime using tarot cards and astrology. Now, you might find it odd that I'm communicating to you with this language, and yet I have studied astrology for over 15 years. And through that in depth study, have come up with there's a lot of truth in the stars. There's a lot of wisdom in the stars. And oddly, because I also have a very scientific mind, I have time tested this over the years. And there's also a lot of truth in the stars, which is how I was able to solve my own crime. So, like, Anne, if you're brand new to astrology, don't sweat it. I'm going to break it down in pieces because this is a lot of energy and the eclipses are so huge. But I see our country's story being played out in the stars, as do actually a lot of other astrologers, right? It's like the window into our nation's soul. Um, and for whatever reason, I'm a map reader. The symbols mean stuff to me. And again, this is an educational and entertainment website, so take everything with a grain of salt. Okay, really? It's just for entertainment. However, that being said, I think there are people in law enforcement that could tell you that I have pretty keen map reading skills, right? And my life's journey is intertwined with my country's journey. Why? Because our charts are very similar, and I got wrapped up in all of this, despite the fact that I would have wished for anything but. Um, and these energies are so powerful if we're aware of the energies and we figure out a way to harness them wisely, then we grow and become more beautiful and loving and kind as a country, right? I only ever use it for good, right? To help guide the energy in a good direction. You need to go back and watch the other eclipses stuff on Pluto and what's happening on April 20th 2023 with the solar eclipse. I think I did it in 3 or 4 waves, and I'm going to have to do this one in 3 or 4 waves too. Why? Because it's a lot of energy and it's a lot of information, and it's hard if you're new to it. But literally, the story of our country is playing out through this. And I have seen this time and time again. So if you don't believe in that, it's all right. If you want to just hear an interesting story, stay tuned. But then watch and pay attention to see if things begin to unfold. Okay? That's where you begin to see, is stuff happening in the stars and in reality, right? I did that for years with cold readings, taking people I didn't know and saying, hey, would you like a free reading? And the only thing I ask is at the end if you'll tell me how accurate I was or where I was wrong, or give me a chance to ask a few questions so I can deepen my knowledge. And I did that hundreds of times over. And in the process of that, I learned that I had an eye for things. Okay. So that being said, and again, yes, I used this energy to oust Trump. So, and I've used it for many good things in the world. So, this is going to be the complementary energy to the solar eclipse that's happening on April 20th. This, however, on May 5th, 2023, is going to be a lunar eclipse. And I used our nation's chart. So the story I'm telling will be very much part of our national story. Now, there will be key people caught up in this story, okay, because some of our lives are embroiled in this story. And just know this is just the beginning of the energy. It'll have to come out in several paths, okay? And I'm also doing this because I'm trying to beat the chick who's copycatting me, who is PDFing my stuff, stopping me from saving stuff to the D drive, right? So, and I'm going to read because there's just too much here. So, remember from our solar readout from April 20th that Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius looms very large in our nation's history over the next 21 years. It's going to go back and forth 2023, but by November of 2024, it's going to come home to roost. This is true not only for the solar eclipse, but the accompanying lunar eclipse that occurs 2 weeks later on May 5th, 2023. And that Pluto's sitting in our nation's second house, which has to do not only with how we make money, but also our values as a nation. Has everything to do with our value system. Now, once again, this powerhouse of a planet is calling us to consider the soul of our nation, because Pluto has everything to do with soul. It has a lot to do with a lot of things, but it's very much the soul of our nation. And it's going to be making a square to the nodes of the moon, which runs along the Taurus Scorpio axis at this time. Okay, that's very pivotal. Now, potent squares such as these, with Pluto creating a harsh angle to the nodes, usually means that we have missed some critical step along our evolutionary path as a nation. It's as if a tsunami of energy has formed, and that energy wants to burst forth like it's coming from behind a dam, but because we haven't evolved our consciousness or our value system enough, that energy feels chaotic rather than transformative. Okay. Not only are we being asked to reorient our value system, so we honor all people in our country, but we are having to experience the problems we are facing due to our resistance to change. And that's the square. That's what the square is creating, is that resistance. Now, with the south node of the moon residing in Scorpio at 3 degrees, we are being reminded that it takes a village to accomplish great things. Collective effort is called for, rather like barn raisings in the old days, or when you would go across to the neighbor's field and plow their field in exchange for vegetables throughout the summer. In the past, we've always had that ability to work together, right, across the fence, across the red-blue line. We need to do this again, so that we can bring in decency and positive change. Now, the South Node asks us to lean on what we already know. Not so that we get stuck there, because you aren't meant to lean so hard on it that you don't grow, but so that we can use our collective spirit to move things in the direction we are called upon, so that we can create the positive change that this country needs. Okay, and for me, part of that change is we have to get off the two-party system, because we're killing each other, right, to get what we want. So we have to create change that works, but works for everybody. Okay, now this South Node energy is in our 11th house, which has to do with our country's hopes, dreams, friends, associations, and civic groups. It also rules over benevolence, finances from various businesses, the children of partners, compensation from your work, contracts with foreign governments, governors, the House of Representatives, ideals concerning humanity, social relationships, national aims, societies, and wills, along with how we elect to terminate them. These are just a few of the many things, right? But those are some of the highlights, okay? The polarity point to this north node, the polarity point to that action, is the north node of the moon at 3 degrees of Taurus, which is encouraging us to not only contemplate that which we value, but to take the necessary steps to create true abundance in our lives. So bear in mind, that does not necessarily equate to just money, right? But to growing our inner spiritual resources as well. Humility and faith will be required where we have fallen short. Okay. Now, why? Why is all this important? Well, because Pluto, though it's a small, considered a dwarf planet, it's an ass kicker. It can literally knock us to our knees, burn us to the ground, and or transform us in a beautiful fashion if we allow it. Okay. So if we ignore the difficulty of this square, which I view as a soul warning system, Pluto will deliver the following life lessons or opportunities, or in this case, national lessons. Okay. So emotional shocks will occur and things will get removed to force change. It's as if the universe is saying that behavioral patterns that are holding us back must be fixed in order for us to move forward. Pluto can also help us to form a relationship with that which we need by drawing it in energetically. Sometimes the situations that present themselves will show us how we block our own potential. Okay, so I'm being mindful of that myself, right? Um, how we block our own potential. We're also being asked to evolve as a nation, which of course requires perseverance and fixing our value system. So we have to begin to ask ourselves questions. Are we a moral nation or not? Do we believe in money laundering or not? Is stealing okay or not? Can we believe as we choose or not? Are we willing to do anything to win, even if it involves harming families and the country itself or not? Okay, these are the things we need to begin to look at. Now, the potential for death and rebirth is possible. Again, we're going through that Pluto return. The cycle lasts 248 years. It started in 1776, right? We're right there. So if we haven't adjusted well, we can expect fear, anger, compulsions, rage, and even obsessions to form. Life is trying to force evolutionary change upon us. Now, people can, if they don't handle things well, become very vindictive and cruel if they feel their needs are not being met, thus creating a hellish environment for those they view as enemies. So just be aware of that, okay? Guilt complexes can also arise as we realize how far from source we have become. When Pluto squares planets and the nodes, it creates so much intensity. That intensity will either lead to explosive cataclysms if we are resisting the energy, or a rest filled state if we realize that what is happening is actually the best for the growth of ourselves and our nation. Okay. We're being asked to confront, eliminate, and transform limitations and blockages to our country's soul growth. So, for example, I know people are discomforted by me talking about the sex trafficking that occurred to me as a result of the election hack. Okay. And though I've had a hard time with it, I am going to stop, right? I am. Because I think as a nation, we need to look at where we are. We need to look at what we're doing to actual human beings to earn money for various programs, right? And to evolve, to honor the rights of human beings, we need to force change. Yet, nonetheless, despite the filth of what I've been put through, and I've already set seeds in motion, right? I'm going to forgive, and I am going to just say, here is the lesson, one of many before us. Okay. So I am going to forgive, but we as a nation need to decide, are we going to continue to put up with this filth, or are we going to choose higher ground? That's what's being asked. Okay. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is also asking us to free ourselves from outmoded forms of self definition. It is no longer okay for us to let others define us. All right. We will want to break free of the shackles and conditioning of societal norms so we can be ourselves. To further our soul growth, we are being asked to sever attachments to anything that is holding us back. Okay. So some of my anger and resentment has been holding me back. And that's why I'm going to continue to pour love into those wounds and heal. Right. But I'm also putting it on the table that our nation must change its psyche. Okay. Some of the things will require challenging the mainstream. Certainly at this point, we are being called to reorient our value system in the hugest of possible ways. Now, this energy alone is quite earth-shaking, and yet the lunar eclipse will pack far more of a potent punch than what has already been revealed. And trust me, much will be revealed, because sitting on the south node of the moon will be the moon itself. And full moons always bring to light hidden agendas, that which was formulated in the dark, and secrets of varying intensities. Now, again, this action is occurring in the 11th house, And the energy is scorpionic, which means that Pluto rules over this full moon. So Scorpio energy can be extremely emotional, primal, even vehement, at times vindictive. Okay, instinctual patterns of survival can emerge. Those who are dominated by these stinging emotions may turn against the people or structures they feel have abandoned them. I think this is very important for you all to know. Now, Pluto can detonate our egos so that we can learn who we really are, which is really a soul on a human journey, right? That has the potential to grow and become closer to God or our higher selves. In this process, it can unearth our worst inner demons as well as our untapped potential to overcome and soar like an eagle. Now, so much of it depends upon free will. Now, Pluto is sometimes called the god of death. That which is no longer serving us falls away, rather like a tower. This only occurs when parts of us must be forcefully severed in order to create the room for radical change on that soul level. These kinds of towers can stir dark emotions and humiliation, but the shame is not meant to kill us, it is meant to transform us, to elevate us to a higher level. Although I have been devastated by some of the things that have happened to me, for no reason other than buying software off the internet, I am going to heal from it and I am going to let it go. But yes, I have set the seeds in motion for us to decide what the soul of our country looks like. I have already done that. I've already set the seeds in motion. Now I'm going to just step back and watch, hoping that we will elect to elevate how we treat women in this country, along with so many other groups of people. Whatever gets stripped away is not meant to destroy us, but to force us to look at what must be changed, right? In a godly nation, we would never be able to do some of the things that have been done, right? Okay, so rebirth is possible if we choose to get help and heal as a nation and individuals, okay, which is why I am committed. As hard as it's been, I am committed because 2023 is a year of hope, okay? Halting this soul process of correction means that the lessons will be repeated in our country again or in a person's next life. So again, we're at that crossroads. Do we choose to learn the lessons? Do we choose to grow the soul, or do we hide it all under the carpet because it's so filthy we don't want to look at it? And if we do that, well, it will happen again. Now, blessed are our nations and people who choose to mourn and then heal. Okay, to fight against this tide of Plutonian energy is futile. Think nuclear reactor with Pluto. Okay, situations that seem dark and malevolent are brought into our lives for a reason, not to destroy us, but to transform us. And since Pluto has much to do with corruption, big business, power, darkness, obsessions, taboos, and sex, so that which is going to be revealed can be potentially very painful. Okay. It's going to stir up things that we cling to fiercely, like jobs, possessions, relationships. A Pluto transit can feel like descending into the pits of hell. Okay. But we get delivered there so that we can face the parts of ourselves we most fear to see. If an ego death occurs, it's happening so the soul can find a better version of itself. Okay? If you can take that lesson to heart and realize that whatever happens, it's meant for the soul to grow. Okay? And I'm working on this my own self, right? I've been very upset about this particular aspect of what happened, and yet I am committed to healing. It's not been pretty, it's not been easy, and yet I am. But I want my nation to heal too. I want my nation to treat women as they should be treated, with honor and respect. Okay? Now, let's talk about the moon itself. Along with the types of things it will be revealing, because full moons, especially eclipses, are going to reveal a lot of stuff. And what gets revealed is going to impact us for 6 months to a year or even more. Some moons for several years. Things that will be revealed: friends, organizations. The possessiveness of women is also highlighted. Hidden information regarding Congress, secret societies, or clandestine work affairs might also get revealed. Now remember, Scorpios carry a stinger in their tail. Really painful barbs, right? So as secrets come to light, people may lash out in retribution. Emotional extremes can occur along with envy, jealousy, and possessiveness. Obsessive thoughts tinged with dark emotions and the desire to control things may become overbearing for some people. Pathological tendencies will rise to the surface, and we may feel an urge to trespass into other people's space like a big boss, right? This is our quintessential dark night of the soul for not only our country, but for each one of us is going to face this on some level. Now, this potentially cruel, unfortunately, and calculated moon is going to traipse through some of the darkest corridors of our minds. Okay, so expect volatility amongst groups, old friends, and associations, especially if you have abused relationships in the past, because those who have been stung before with that stinger will not likely come around for a second dose of venom. Okay. Now, on a lighter note, this moon could also help us to see things behind the veil better, to find the spiritual meaning of what is occurring. And that's really where we should be going with this, to allow us to tap into our dreamscapes, to learn how we need to grow. Okay. Surely we are being asked to examine our goals and values with a microscope at this time, if we are to evolve as a nation. The ultimate goal of Pluto is to tear us down as a country so that we might rebuild and come back stronger than ever. This is my most fervent wish and desire. I know that we have rocky, tumultuous energy ahead. So that's my first installation, my readout of our country's astrological chart. I'm providing it months in advance, so one, you can see if what I say unfolds, and two, so that you can prepare for the energy, right? The springtime energy, March, April, May, is going to be very chaotic. We need to do everything we can to bring in peace, bring in love, bring in decency, despite the difficult lessons that are forthcoming. And some of those lessons are going to be very, very hard. Okay. And again, we have to ask ourselves, what kind of country are we? Do we steal? Do we money launder? Do we cheat? Do we, murder families to get what we want? Or can we all say, wow, okay, we need change, right? Positive change that works for everybody. And how can we bring forth our decency and the goodness of our souls to birth a nation we can all be proud of? All right. God bless. I hope these messages hit the people that it needs to hit. I hope you're able to learn. And I have nothing but love and gratitude in my heart. And even the people that have done some of the worst things, I do want them exposed. I want them dealt with. I think we have to change some stuff, but I do not have malice in my heart. And what lingering little bits I do, I'm working on healing and pouring love into every single day. But again, I'm your mother. I'm your wife. I'm your daughter. I'm your sister. I'm your grandmother, your aunt, right? We have to look at the things that we're doing to women in this country and decide, is this where we want to be? That's just one of many lessons, right? But the moon is all about feminine energy, right? So it has to be brought forward. And just know that despite the fact that I've been struggling most, especially the last few days, um, I am going to find a way to heal this. I am. I love my country so much, right? We have the best thing in the world. We have the best thing in the world, and we're, you know, we need to consciously plot what comes next so that it works for everybody, so that we can get back, so that we have a law enforcement driven country, not corrupt judges and judges running prostitution circles and lawyers that are taking money and cops that are wiring my shower so that you can run a fake reality TV show. We have got to decide what is the soul of our nation, right? That is literally what's at stake. And that is all being played out in the upcoming eclipses. So, everybody think on that, right? Bring your most godlike energy to the table. Let's find the love and wisdom in our hearts to create collective energy working across lines, not only to heal where we are, but to plot a course that works for everyone. All right. God bless. That's the astrology, wisdom of astrology. I hope it helps.